All right, welcome to the latest edition of the Client Spotlight. I'm here with my good friend and fellow basketball writer slash enthusiast, John Schuhmann. He's NBA.com writer, and we've known each other for a long time in the trenches covering the NBA, and which is back, by the way, finally. So John's been training with us remotely the past few months. He's gotten some great results. I think some people could really learn from the dedication and the commitment that he's shown. So we're going to get into that a little bit. So John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. I'm happy to be here.
You look like you're ecstatic, actually. You look really
it's early in the morning for me.
So first of all, the NBA is back. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you your early impressions of the NBA restart. They seem to have, knock on wood, they seem to have figured it out.
Yeah, I remember when I first started working for NBA.com, and we were at All-Star Weekend, one of the first All-Star weekends there, and it's just such a production. And I remember my friend Rob Peterson, who I worked for, you probably know, saying, you know, the NBA knows how to put on a show. And I think as far as the production aspect of it, it's been incredibly impressive. Just the arenas that they've set up, and every detail. You know, it's like when they put on a show like that, or a production like that, they don't miss anything really. And I think they're flexible as far as trying to figure things out and going forward. But from how well it was set up from the very start is really impressive. And obviously safety is the number one concern. And that's another aspect to it that you don't get with like a normal, NBA production. But, I don't think it's time to celebrate for at any point just yet until we get to the end of the finals. You don't celebrate what they've done, but so far so good. And like I said, the production aspect of it has been incredibly impressive given the circumstances.
Yeah, no, it's been something, and they seem to have, like you said, I've always noticed that too. Like NBA All-Star Weekend, they put on a show, and there are no I's undotted or T's uncrossed, and I think you're seeing that carry over under some really challenging circumstances. So I'm glad basketball's back, and I'm looking forward to being able to watch it and enjoy it and comment on it here and there. So as far as your last few months, I mean, obviously everyone's been in this state of, isolation, stress, anxiety. Our life is not the way it was before. And people have, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people, fret about gaining the quarantine 15 or the COVID 15. You went the opposite way. I think it's 21 pounds and counting that you've lost since March. Yeah. You've been training with us since around May. So tell me what has worked for you. How have you been able to not only avoid, the weight gain and suffering in your health, to actually make tremendous progress these past few months?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm lucky in that I have the time and I have the space in my house to work out no matter the weather. I work from home in the first place, so it wasn't an adjustment. That part wasn't an adjustment. My kids are 15 and 13, so they don't necessarily require much of my time, even whether they're in school or whether they're not in school. And then I have space down in the basement. I have a treadmill and enough space to do a workout. But then, like once the NBA season was suspended, and at first I write for NBA.com, so I'm not necessarily like some of our other friends reporting on what the NBA is doing. Because I write for NBA.com, the NBA handles the sort of how this thing is gonna go. So those first couple weeks, I was basically hands off as far as work. I was working, taking notes on what had happened in the season so far. But once it ended, once the season was suspended, I said, okay, here we go. The one thing I can do right now is dedicate an hour or two to myself every day, or whatever it takes to work out every day. I mean, it's what I do in the summer normally, you know, like usually my intense exercise starts in the playoffs when we start traveling and we're in hotels, and there's, you know, you always have an hour a day to dedicate. And then it continues in the summer when the work is lighter. You know, during the season, you know, there's always live games to keep on top of. And with my job, I do our power ranking, so I have to write about every team every week. So I have to be on top of every single thing that's happening during the season. But in the summer, you know, there's no live games. Now, in these past few months, I have been watching games from the past, but I'll have to keep up top of everything. And so I know that I have a certain amount of time I can dedicate. And so right at the beginning, I just started. It was just every day. Like I alternate strength days and running days, and that makes it just easy, and it makes it easy to do it every day. And I think they say, you know, it takes 3 weeks to form a habit. I totally believe that, you know, like, and once you form that habit, then it becomes ingrained, and it's almost like, you know, going a day without a shower, you feel kind of gross. Going a day without a workout, you feel kind of gross. Like, you know, like it's almost that same kind of feeling. And so I would basically do for the last 4.5 months, it's basically been 13 days out of 14, you know, an off day every couple of weeks. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it really hasn't, that part of it hasn't been all that difficult. I think I think it's just a matter of making that commitment to the time, being able to do it for those first few weeks, and then it becomes much easier after that. And then losing the weight, I think it's just the time commitment. Just once, like, I don't find the workouts that difficult. Maybe, you know, your workouts are very difficult at the end, but other than that, it's a good, and I don't feel terrible afterwards. And then the running, I just do what I can, and it started working for me.
Mm-hmm.
It really did.
Now, you mentioned the running part. You've been doing that for a long time. What have you noticed as you've started to incorporate more strength training, as you've gotten stronger? How has that affected your
That's
weight?
a good idea. I think the core work has definitely helped. I have had an issue, sort of it's pain that shows up in your groin, but I think it's I don't know if it's a hip issue or something where, and I have that when I play, like, my favorite exercise, to be honest with you, is to play basketball. Like that is my workout, and I haven't been able to do that in these 4.5 months, which really sucks. But I'll get this issue when I play basketball for an hour or two, and I'll get it sometimes when I run. But I feel like the core work that I've done with you has definitely helped, as far as both back pain and that groin/hip pain that I get sometimes when I do cardio or run or play basketball or whatever it is. So I think that has been important, and I appreciate, like, your workouts really focusing on that aspect of it. And I feel like, yeah, I'm in with my core much stronger. I feel like I can do the running much easier without any kind of real pain to worry about. So
That's great, and that's the name of the game. Like a lot of trainers or a lot of gyms believe that, you know, they've and people have been conditioned to think, in order to get results, I have to get my ass kicked, and I have to feel like I just got run over by a truck. And you're not supposed to feel that way. Like you know, the old no pain no gain idea is very antiquated. And
yeah, I mean, and we've had that discussion, like with the legs. Like there was a couple of your workouts where it killed my legs, and so the next day I went to run, and I had been doing 4.5 miles, and all of a sudden, like, I'm 2.5 miles in, and my legs are killing me. So, but I said, hey, can we slow down on the legs a little bit? And you said, sure. And we adjusted it, and I felt great after that. So yeah. It was a couple of days where my quads and hamstrings were really sore when I was running, but we flipped it up and it felt much better afterwards.
Yeah. You alluded to the NBA writer lifestyle during normal times, and I've seen this from our friends and colleagues all across the league. And it's like this yo-yo effect. So like during the season, you'll gain 20 pounds, and that in the summertime you'll take it off, and you gain it and you lose it, and you gain it and you lose it. Obviously, it'd be much better if you think of like just from an NBA player's standpoint. Imagine if an NBA player just like let himself go in the summer and then decided to come back and use training camp to get into shape. So it's the same thing for us. We're all humans.
Yeah.
Do you think there are some habits that you've picked up on, or some strategies that you've learned these last few months that you can carry over when your job does go back to more of a normal schedule, so that you don't get on that roller coaster again?
Well, first of all, I think it's just the habit of exercising every day, and just the general habit and sense that that'll be hard to break now that games are even starting. Like I'm like, all right, I still have to exercise today, even though I've got a little bit more work to do than I did 3 days ago.
Right. Yeah. There's no games going on at 10 o'clock in the morning. So.
No, they actually start early. They start at like 2 o'clock or something today.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a tough question. I think I'm lucky in that I can work and exercise in the same time, because I have a treadmill and I have an iPad, and I can put the iPad on the treadmill and watch a game that I missed last night. So like even today, there's like maybe 6 games. I will watch 2 of them live maybe, and then take notes on a few others, and I'll be able to watch another one the next day while I'm exercising. And I have that ability during the season. The other thing I do is I really track my sleep. So there are some nights where I only get a couple of hours sleep because I have to file something the following morning, and it's fairly hefty. So I use my Fitbit app just to check my average sleep over the sort of 7-day rolling period and make sure that's at 7 hours, 7.5 or whatever, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what days, okay, it's low. I got to make sure I go to bed early at this point. And with your workouts, I think it's fine. I can, they're what, 40-45 minutes each. I think I can handle that time out of my day. The eating part is different. I think it's that's also a product of the pandemic, and just you're not eating out as much, and there's even you have an excuse for for just staying at home and eating what's in the house, which you can obviously control a little bit more. You control the calories a lot more than you do when we're out and about, especially in NBA media rooms. The food is usually good and usually abundant. So,
right. So as far as goals, what do you have in mind for like the next 6 months? I mean, you've lost 20 pounds. You don't want to lose 20 more.
Right.
I
have more to lose.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? My goal was always to get like under 165. Like I was at, I'll tell you what, I was at in 4.5 years ago, I was at almost 200 pounds. And in 2016, I went from like 198 to 173 or something like that. So that was big for me. And I climbed back up to maybe around 180. And that's where I was at the beginning in March. And so my goal was always to get to 165, because that was a goal. That was something I had never hit maybe since I was married 20 years ago. I've gotten under that. And so now it's like, okay. But, and so I think I get under a number. So I get under 165, and say I get down to 162 or whatever. I'm like, okay, I never want to see 165 again. Or I get under and now I'm at 157, 158. And so it's almost like, okay, let's see if we can just never hit 160 ever again in your life. You know, you're going to have some ups and downs, I know. But I still have a little bit of a belly, so I feel like there's more to lose. I don't necessarily have a hard goal like that. Maybe it is 150. I don't know if I can, we'll see. Like I said, now that the season is starting again, I want to see, okay, how am I going to handle this part of, these next 3 months? I feel like I can continue doing what I'm doing for the most part. It may not be 13 days out of 14 days. It may end up being, 10 days, 5 days a week instead of 6.5 days a week like I've been going. But I feel like I can do it. And the diet habits I think I've made are not that hard. Like I cut out snacking. Desserts. I eat like one little piece of chocolate after lunch, one little piece of chocolate after dinner, and I feel like that's enough for me. I don't need to indulge really with that kind of stuff. And one key that I had for diet, and I'll just mention it, was just doing like a MyFitnessPal thing for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I don't track my food every day now. What I did, just doing that for 3 or 4 weeks, taught me so much about what hurts you and what doesn't diet wise, like just learning, okay, this food that I was eating every day adds 300 something calories to my diet. That's just, I don't, that takes me over my, over what I need to be. And so just learning about food that way. And I know, and I'm more of I know it's probably not perfect, but I'm more of just, hey, how many calories is everything versus the nutrients and everything else. But that really taught me a lot about diet and what to avoid and what to cut down on, stuff like that.
No, it's like anything else. If you write it down and track it, you're going to be more accountable to it, and you're going to have to confront like how many calories or what, how much processed stuff is in this thing that I used to eat, and it's, for you to confront it. And like you said, it doesn't have to be, I think this is really important for people to understand. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be 13 days out of 14. It doesn't have to be 45 minutes. Like maybe when you get busy and you've got 6 games to break down, maybe today you do a 20-minute strength workout and go on the treadmill while you watch a game. And then tomorrow you do a 15-minute conditioning workout instead of doing them both on the same day. So I think that's one thing that people get when they start a fitness program. You see these people just go, all in and change everything and eating a completely different diet. And within a couple of weeks, they run out of gas and they want to go back to the way they were before. So I think that's important for people to pick up on. The other obstacle that I've heard and seen from people during this time is that they didn't understand how to be consistent with exercise when they couldn't go to a gym physically. And people have said, well, I don't like online training. I don't want to do online training. I won't do it. I know myself. I won't be accountable. I need someone. I need to be around people. How did you overcome that? I mean, just using our app, using the technology probably helped that we already had a relationship, but how did that work for you?
That's a good question. I've never felt like that need. I need to be around somebody to do it. And so I've always been doing most of the stuff by myself. So I think it's just a battle within yourself, really. I mean, all of it, maybe all of life is a battle in your own brain. Mm-hmm. And so what you said about tracking stuff, I like tracking stuff. So I like going in an Excel sheet. I did this number of chest, whether it's your workout or not. I did this number of reps with chest exercises, this number with back exercises, all this, whatever. I logged these, I ran this amount of miles at this pace. I track that stuff to the death, and I enjoy that aspect of it. I enjoy just being done with a workout and saying, "Hey, did today? Today, check it. Mark it off the thing." And so I guess I mean, I was an athlete as a kid, so I played 2 sports in school, so I just enjoy working up a sweat and having that feeling of um, exercise. I think it's really satisfactory when you get something done and you've worked up a sweat and you improved yourself. And so whether there's somebody around to do it, or there with you, it just still feels great to get it done. And so, I just go down to the basement, I fire up your app, I put some music on, and I go to work and feel much better about myself when I'm done. So, I don't know. Everybody is their own person. So I don't know. I don't know what advice I'd have to anybody else in that situation. But like I said, I just feel like so much better when I'm done that it's not hard to do it. And like once you form that habit, it becomes fairly easy to go down there and get started.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, congratulations on the success. I look forward to helping you kick it into the next gear here. And it's a pleasure to work with someone who's, diligent and consistent and motivated and coachable. So you've done a great job. You deserve a lot of credit for that. And I guess I'll leave it here. Can I put you on the spot for a prediction of who we will see in the NBA Finals?
I have no idea. I really don't it's these guys were off for 4.5 months. So who knows? I mean, it's the same teams that were there in March, but who knows what's going to happen? It's hard not to pick the Lakers or the Clippers or the Bucks just because they are so good, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody else came through. I think Toronto is really good and just has this sort of incredible chemistry between their core guys that won championship last year. So I think they're really scary because they can probably pick up where they left off 4.5 months ago, and be really just as good. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not Lakers or Clippers versus the Bucks, really, but I think that's the sort of the safe pick.
Yeah, you're right. It's more of a wild card and more wide open than ever just because of the circumstances. And then we'll also find out how many of these guys have been working out as hard as you have the last 4.5 months, right? So
I think most of them are probably doing a better job than I am in regard to taking care of themselves. But I am happy where I'm at.
Well, that's their job, and you've made it yours. So congratulations for that. So.
All right, man. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, John. Great to have you, and continued success. All right.
Thanks, man.
All right. Take care.